Congratulations on acquiring your new Hunter Hydrawise Wi-Fi irrigation controller. Assuming that you've already downloaded your Hydrawise application and logged in, we're going to take you through basic app functionality. So go ahead and pull out your smartphone and open up your Hydrawise application and we'll get started. Okay, now that your application has loaded, we'd like you to click on the Home tab, which is located in the lower left-hand corner. And once you do so, the first thing you want to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom. And you'll notice a green circle with a check mark, and it should say All Good. What that's indicating is that your irrigation controller, the hardware, is connected to your local Wi-Fi network, and the commands that you're sending from either your desktop computer or your application on your smart device are actually going to transpire in the field. If you see anything other than the green check mark saying All Good, the commands being sent from your smartphone will not reflect in your irrigation controller. Directly to the right of that, you'll see a 7-day rolling average of your water savings, and then beneath that, it'll tell you how many minutes in the next 7 days are scheduled to irrigate. As we scroll up, underneath sensors, if you have a rain sensor or any click-based sensor or perhaps a flow meter, this is where you're going to see what a la carte components are actually attached to your irrigation controller and their current status. So if you do have a rain sensor, green is good, red is bad, right? Green means that the sensor is not stopping your system from irrigating. Red would indicate that your rain sensor is active, meaning it's wet and it's suspending irrigation. As we scroll up from there, you can see the current temperature at your location, as well as the rainfall data for the previous 24 hours, as well as a synopsis of the previous 7 days. As we continue to scroll up, you'll see the forecasted temperature, humidity, wind speed for the next 3 days. When we scroll up to the top, here you have a visual representation of all of the zones at your Hunter Hydrawise irrigation controller. And I want you to notice in the upper right-hand corner, Zone 1 is currently operating. So when a zone goes from resting to operational, the icon will change to a blue sprinkler head, as opposed to the other icons you see on the screen. So the home screen and the remote tab have some correlation that we're going to show you. The first thing I'd like to show you though is how to deactivate a zone from the home screen. So you simply tap on the zone icon that's running, and on the far left, the red box indicates stop irrigation. So I'll go ahead and just tap that, and we stop that zone from running. Now if we're to tap on any set zone, we can see a couple of pieces of information. The first one at the top, next run, indicates the next time that zone is scheduled to irrigate automatically. It'll, beneath that, show you the duration of time that you can expect that zone to run for. And then beneath that, it'll show you the last time that zone ran for. If we want to take a deeper dive into station information, go ahead and hit the little I for information. And now you can see the program in which that station lives inside of, indicating the days of the week in which it'll run, the time that it'll come on, and the duration of time that it'll run for. Down at the bottom, it gives you a nice little synopsis of all of the previous run cycles for that particular zone, whether they be manual or by program. So at this point, I'm just going to hit the OK button. And I'm going to tap back on a zone to show you one more feature we can do at the station level from the home screen. And that feature is a suspension of that zone. So if you hit the 2 red bars in the center, it'll bring up this screen and allow you to suspend irrigation on individual zones for a set amount of time of your choosing. So down at the bottom, the suspension will engage now and then until the end of, and you go ahead and tap on that and it'll pull up a calendar for you. And when the calendar pulls up, we simply select the day that we want to remain suspended until. So I'll pick Saturday and then hit suspend. And now when we close that out and go back to the home screen, I want you to notice visually, Station 2 is much lighter than the remainder of the stations. That's a good visual representation to let you know that currently there is a suspension on that zone, keeping it from running on a programmed schedule. So if we tap on that zone, now it tells us in detail how many days and hours that zone's suspended until. If we simply tap on the suspension button again, we can click on the hyperlink at the bottom saying resume all watering for this zone. By tapping on that and then hitting close, you'll notice that the icon now is bright like the remainder of them, indicating there is no suspension. Now, if you have a party or you have a lawn mowing day and you want to suspend irrigation across all of your stations for a set time, then you want to hit the little gear on the right hand side with the down arrow in the blue bar. By doing so, at the bottom, it has the option to suspend all zones. Just like you saw with suspending individual zones, the screen is identical. So you'll go down to suspend until, and then choose the day you want to suspend until. We'll just say Friday the 24th and hit the suspension. Hit the OK button and then close. And you come back to the home screen, you should see all of your stations are lighter in color than they were when they were unsuspended. So in order to remove the suspension you initiated, it's the same way you created it, by simply suppressing the gear with the down arrow and the blue bar in the upper right hand corner, going back in to suspend all zones, and once doing so, the hyperlink down at the bottom in blue that says resume all watering for selected zones, simply tap on that and then hit OK and hit the close button, and now you can see all of your station icons are bright green again, indicating there's no longer a suspension in play. Now, directly next to the home button is your zones tab, just to the right of it. We're going to go ahead and click on that now and show you a couple things you can do to customize your individual zones. So some of the features and benefits that we can do in customization is add photo imagery from your computer or from your smartphone. If you are to take images from your smartphone that you'd like to import into the Hydrawise software, a little trick: turn your phone sideways so you're in portrait mode, because if you neglect to do so, when the photos import into Hydrawise, they'll then be rotated 90 degrees and you won't be looking at it in the fashion you want to. So down at the bottom, I want you to notice the little photograph with the plus button in the right hand corner. You go ahead and click on that, and now we can import a photograph. So I'm just simply going to import backyard turf rotors. Double click on it, and in a moment there it'll pop up. So now we've attached an image to a zone, which you can attach single images or multiple ones. But in order to see that reflected, if we'd like it to become the icon and remove the green leaf, we have to do one more step. So right next to the photo with the plus sign, there's a rectangle with a pencil. If you suppress that, that allows you to edit zone information. So up at the top, you can see we have Station 1, which when you create a program in standard mode, or your contractor did for you, that's all the verbiage that comes with it. However, you have about 30 characters to work with to put in much more detail. How many heads are on the zone? Pretty much anything you desire. And you'll notice as you scroll down where it says zone icon, the picture that you imported is now available to make that image the icon. So I'll tap on that and I'll simply hit OK. And if I jump back to the home screen for a brief moment, now you can see that image as well as the information I typed in detail for that zone is reflected on your home screen. So if you want to take beautification shots and import them, a lot of homeowners like to do that. We encourage you to. Jumping back to the Zones tab, right at the top next to where it says Zones, there's a tab for Programs. So if you tap on the Programs tab, now you can see programs are where your irrigation zones live to come on specific days at specific start times for a specific duration of time running. So a lot to digest there, but my first program here says Backyard, and it's time-based, and it waters on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So blue days are representation of irrigation days, white days, non-irrigation days. It starts at 10 p.m. and it has zones 1 through 8 in that program, and to the right I can see the duration of time that each one of those zones is expected to run for. Now if I want to edit that information, simply press the rectangle with the pencil in the lower right hand corner, and in doing so, now if I want to change the name of that particular program, I can go ahead and do that. Call it Program A, hit the next button. At this point, we have a couple of different variables in terms of choosing our days of the week. We could simply select that we want to run on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or if you'd like, you can run an odd or even or interval watering days. So let's just say we want to go even this time. If we want to change the time of day that cycle starts, we can change it. And from there, hit next. And now you can change which stations live in the program and the duration of time that they're going to run for in that program. So if we decide zone 1, 40 minutes is just a little bit too long, we can go ahead and edit that down. Or if we decide we no longer want zone 8 in that specific program, we can deselect it, and you notice over on the right, the runtime disappears. So only the zones that are checkboxed will be in that program. So if we wanted to add zone 11 to it, we simply tab on it and then put in the duration of time we want it to run for. And once we've done so, hit the OK button. And then you can see a synopsis of that information you edited. Some people like to put their flowers and their turf in different programs. Hydrawise will allow you to do so. However, if you, depending upon the model of controller that you have and the hydraulics of your irrigation system, you may not be able to run 2 programs simultaneously. But under the reporting tabs, which we'll get into in a later training, you can see what you've programmed and what that looks like on a daily, weekly, or monthly calendar. The final thing we're going to take you through today is the remote tab. Tap dead center at the bottom. If you simply click on remote, we know we can initiate or deactivate irrigation from the home screen. From the remote tab, it just is a little bit slicker of a feel. So at the very top, if we want to run a specific zone, it'll show the duration of time that it's scheduled for in a program. But if we're just kind of playing around in the backyard, I encourage you to go down and click on Zone Tester. When you do that, it'll show you which zone you're highlighted on, which is currently Zone 1, by simply pressing the green triangle. That'll initiate irrigation. So I'll close this very quickly, jump back to the home screen. So you can see that's reflected, and Zone 1 is currently running. If I want to jump back to remote, I can advance, and it'll advance from station 1 to 2, or I could stop station 2 and go down to, say, Zone 5 and initiate irrigation there. So very easy to activate manual station and deactivate. You can run programs manually, multiple stations manually, or the zone tester mode as I showed you already. But that'll conclude basically your introduction today to Hydrawise. You have acquired the most feature-rich, technologically advanced Wi-Fi irrigation controller in the market today. We have given you a good introduction to that application. It's extremely feature-rich, and if you would like to take a deeper dive, we encourage you to look at the rest of our YouTube